Hi and welcome, and thanks so much for tuning in this little video. As you can tell, I decided against drawing up a big canvas that showcases my research interests, and instead I decided to tap into the little cool technological tools we have to record what should be no more than a 5-6 minute very short video clip that exposes you to some of the research I'm doing on the mediatization of war in a transforming global media landscape. So what I want to focus on very briefly is to give you a short snapshot of my research, of the methodologies that I'm using and the ways in which I try to explore and experiment with different ways in which we can try to disseminate our research by using the technologies available today. So let's kick off with the research focus, the mediatization of war in a transforming global media landscape. Now, throughout history, violent conflict has always been mediatized. Poems, sculptures, paintings, frescoes, books, theater plays, newspapers, the telegraph, photographs, the radio, newspapers, television, satellite, cinema, cell phones, and of course, most recently, digital media platforms. All these media platforms have depicted and mediatized war in one form or another. And this mediatization of conflict has thereby strongly influenced how we have viewed and also understood violent conflict. Media in that sense has always played a very important role in shaping violent events, but also our understandings thereof. Now, given the very long and intricate relationship between media and war, more recent claims over the revolutionary nature of digital media technologies and its alleged impact on the relationship with war clearly should make us pause. Has violence not always been subject to propaganda, to censorship, or to more or less distorted representations? How can one plausibly claim that there's anything qualitatively new or even revolutionary about the nature of digital new media today, let alone the latter's relationship with violent conflict? Now, my argument is that today's emergence of digital new media technology actually constitutes a sea change. The rise of this new technology has resulted in a structural shift from the old multipolar to a new heteropolar global media landscape. A landscape in which newly empowered non-state actors and even individuals contest the hitherto state-policed war narratives. What we have seen is a multiplication and simultaneous diversification of structurally different media actors. And this development has empowered non-state actors to now, for the first time, being able to contest what so far have been largely state-policed war narratives. This has created conditions for today's wars to be waged on both sides, to be fought in and through media platforms. Media technology in that sense has fractalized, balkanized the old media landscape. And trying to trace the contours of heteropolarity reveals major developments that have impacted on the mediatization of war. The first development is the formation of entirely new types of media actors. And so we see a technology that has afforded individuals as well as non-state actors to directly become involved themselves in the mediatization of conflict. All these new actors can have a view, can have an image, and of course can express a perspective outside traditional media outlets. At the same time, we also see other new actors rise and get directly involved in the mediatization of war. We see this in particular amongst militaries, be this the Pentagon, be this the Israeli army, you name them, directly generating their own news outlets and broadcasts, and thereby impact on the mediatization of war. But alongside these new actors coming on stage thanks to digital new media technology, we also see that old media actors are taking on board the tools of digital media technologies and are therefore directly evolving as media actors themselves. The impact of this dual development of new media actors emerging and old media actors evolving, this impact on the mediatization of conflict has been to introduce a wide range of voices into the conversation about war. And this development has started to transform the experience of war because it allows for the production of competing virtual realities. And so what until not so recent has been a one-sided media spectacle of war has been replaced by a war of spectacles. So with state as well as non-state actors, both vying for hearts and minds, today's transformed global media landscape has become an important, some people might say, even the decisive conduit and arena in warfare. That is what my research investigates, in particular through two large case studies. On the one hand, the global war on terror, and secondly, the Arab Spring. One of the tools that I'm using for this research is a state-of-the-art global media lab that we have built. Two colleagues of mine, myself, have built at the University of Queensland, which monitors 12 English-speaking 24/7 news channels. And I'll play you a little recording of one of my colleagues here in the lab explaining what this is about.
The Media Lab is a unique facility that is geared to actually record multiple channels of 24-hour news over a whole conflict cycle, as we call it. So one conflict that unfolds will be recorded for up to 3 or 4 months. And what we're doing with this is producing data that allows us to analyze both politicians' reactions to news, what do they do, the public's conception of what's going on in the kind of conflicts, and at the end also how the different kinds of conflicts are reported on different channels, which is not always the same. Yeah, before we had this infrastructure, we would have had to go to individual news channels and identify precisely the kind of time brackets we would have wanted from them. They would have had to get those to us in prepackaged things, so we couldn't actually have looked at a whole cycle of reporting at all.
All right, happy to talk more about this, but of course it enables us to constantly monitor the actual television coverage of different conflicts, the differences between different global media television stations, and feed this directly into our research. Finally, and lastly, a last word on research dissemination. Of course, alongside the traditional media, alongside the traditional academic outlets, books, book chapters and articles, I have built an interactive site called thevisionmachine.com, which tries to engage and disseminate research in different ways. The site has been gone live since March this year. We get around 400 visitors per week on it, and it is a platform where some of the research is being disseminated between colleagues, between activists, between journalists, military actors and others, and we feature various spotlights that are regularly updated, be this interviews with experts, be this micro-documentaries, be this pieces that all engage with questions of war and peace and the media. So it is an attempt to try to disseminate research out amongst various different audiences, not purely catered towards an academic audience, but at the same time tap into digital media technologies to allow people, viewers, members who can all join for free, to become involved and join into the debate between these different types of themes. So that is the short little snapshot I've wanted to give you guys on my research focus, on my methodology and dissemination. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're still watching at this point, thanks for taking the time. I'm more than happy to discuss this in person. Thank you very much.